Hi, everybody. I'm Kyle Lecott, your host for another edition of VCTV. Welcome back. We've got yet another double packed episode. As we've mentioned before, this is Q3, third quarter, quarter three. This is one of the biggest times of the year for both investors and entrepreneurs. It's the sprint towards the end of the year. What does that mean? Well, as an entrepreneur, this is probably when you're going to market, you're getting products out there in new hands of customers, and you're fundraising. Well, what does that mean for you investors? This is the time, and all entrepreneurs out there are looking to raise capital. It's a great time to find great companies to fund. And also for entrepreneurs, it's great time to find some of the best investors who will be there to support you on your journey as you build your company. So this is important, even more so now here in 2020. Why? Because so much is happening. We've got technologies that are advancing and shifting and shaping every single day. We've got industries and regions around the world that are doing the same. So much is happening in such a short amount of time. Here on VCTV, we want to bring the experts around the world to share with you what they're seeing, what their expertise is, and also how to prepare yourself for all of these changes. So we're joined by an outstanding panelist of investors today from around the world to talk to us about bio, med, and health tech. We know that this has been a very, very impactful three industries over the last 12 months, but it's also been something that's been worked on for the past decade. And there's been a lot of advancements that's happened in this industry, in these industries, and even more to come as the digitization really accelerates in each of these areas. And we see new technologies being applied for greater advancements throughout as well. So for those that are tuning in for the first time, welcome. And our audience, if you're an investor and you'd like to be on a show like today, do reach out to the LA Token team, Elena and or myself, and we'd love to find the right fit for you. And entrepreneurs, this is not just a show for you, or excuse me, this is not just a show for investors. This is also a show for you. You have a virtual stage you can get up on and pitch your company with us as investors one-on-one and to the live audience as well. So do reach out to us. We would love to hear from you and find the right spot. And also, big thank you to Elena and to the entire LA Token team for always making VCTV possible every single day on your screen, your device, anywhere in the world. With that, I'm your host. We've got a double episode, packed week for you here on VCTV. I'm Kyle Lecott. Let's dive in. All right. So first and foremost, a new guest here with Elena and I on the show. Boba, welcome to the show. A little introduction and a little background for everybody, please.
Thank you, Kyle. My name is Baba Venkatadri. Good morning from sunny California. So I'm a pharmacist by training. I spent 25 years at Warner Lambert, starting in India. And then in US, I became the Vice President of Operations, 2,000 people, 5 plants in US. Then did a stint in Indonesia as a president of Warner Lambert, and a couple of years in Puerto Rico, then joined biotech company in Netherlands and Malvern, PA, Centocor, and had the good fortune of developing the Remicade, which sold about 8 billion, then became the CEO of a New York Stock Exchange company that developed ultrasound contrast agent. Optison, sold by Mallinckrodt now. In the last 13 years, I've been a venture capitalist at Venture East, based in Mauritius and India. Now I just started a digital health fund last year, and we just focus on only digital health, providing seed fund.
Wow. Wow, that is a resume, sir. So real quick on the fund, can you share the name of the new fund that you just started?
Dizzy Life.
Wonderful.
Dizzy Life Angel Fund US LLC, based in California.
And you do seed investments. Is there a certain size that you look for, or is it just seed in general? So companies that are pre-revenue, MVP.
Philosophically, what we really believe, we subscribe to the fact medicine's next revolution is digital, Okay. The convergence of biology and technology has started the next fourth industrial revolution, which is going to be bigger than industrial tech revolution. So, and you saw the biggest beneficiary of pandemic is digital health. The estimated revenues this year are 2.6 billion. So our premise is the lot of startups, young people with bright ideas, they stall for startup capital or seed funding. Okay, so we look at the best brains, best ideas that have an impact on the global health. Okay, not only in the developed countries as well as the developing world, because our healthcare needs in the next 10, 20 years cannot be met with bricks and mortar hospitals around the world. Okay. The only solution is digital, just like cell phones. If you're looking in Africa or Asia or Latin America and all those rural areas, including US, you can't provide a healthcare solution unless you go digital. So that's what we did.
Yeah. We're gonna come back to that more. So thank you so much, Bob. Appreciate it. William, welcome back as well. A little intro, a little background for those who may not know you here on the show.
Yes, of course. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm from Spain, so sorry for my English. Yeah, you know that Spanish people are not the best guys to speak English. You have a very strong accent. I'm a medical doctor. I founded two telehealth companies, digital healthcare companies, international. One is called MedicWo, the other one is called Meeting Doctors. Both of them are quite successful with millions of medical consultations per year, or thousands of medical consultations per day. I am also a business angel and investor in several startups, successful startups, mainly in Spain and also in Latin America.
Wonderful, and welcome back as well. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in Spain and Latin America here shortly. Brad, welcome back to the show as well. A little intro, a little background.
Cheryl, thanks for having me back. My name is Brad Cohen. I live outside of Boston in Wellesley, Massachusetts. I've started over 19 companies since in the last 30 years. All have kind of a common theme of big data and using data to monetize. And my partner and I started a business partner and I started a company called EdgeCase 2017. And we focus on digital health primarily. We're an artificial intelligence core company where we really focus on the data side. So we take unstructured medical data such as MRIs and CAT scans, and then we have physicians all over the globe that will annotate and make those ready for AI training. And then we also we have a pipeline for data that's anonymized and anonymous and de-identified that we're able to use for AI training. And then we also have a whole tool set and a marketplace for physicians. So if any company that needs, for instance, 20 doctors to be able to do a study or to do consultation or a project, we have those physicians that are vetted and interviewed and peer referrals and so on that we bring together. So it's an entire suite of both technology, data, and human resources to be able to enable this next new massive movement in medicine.
Wonderful. Well, welcome back. We're excited to talk a little bit more about that as well. Gary Fowler, welcome back to the show. A little intro, a little background, my friend.
Yes, the Grandmaster, the Wizard Kyle of technology. I am humbled to be here. I'm on my knees. So anyhow, my name's Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 15 companies. I've done 2 successful accelerators, the first accelerator in Russia and the #1 private corporate accelerator. So 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.3 billion a little over a year ago. We did an IPO, went through all that very interesting. I've had no failures, but as I said many times, I feel like I've got off a bike and skinned my knees up and my back and everything else. But I did get back up, put a little antiseptic, and at least made a little bit of money on it. So anyhow, I am the CEO and co-founder of GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios. We curate incredible companies around the world involved in artificial intelligence. I just this morning published my 70th article in Forbes, Deep Learning versus Machine Learning. And I just wrote my last one, another one last night on Nikola Tesla and the democratization of opportunity for Forbes. So I'm very, very active in AI. I love artificial intelligence, and I enjoy being here with my friend Kyle and my friend Noble.
We're always happy to have you as well, my friend. It's a pleasure. Angun, and I apologize. I know I messed it up, so I'm going to try to keep getting it right. But welcome to the show, first time here with Elena and I. A little introduction, a little background on yourself.
Hey mate, how are you doing? And don't worry about the name, happens all the time. So, hey guys, Anuj here from India. I am the founder of a health tech company called Atutum. We are an India-based medical concierge that's in our early phases right now. We have just developed a new product and we are going to the market with it. Prior to this, I have worked on multiple startups, create a concierge app as well called Skivi, which we exited out of back in 2018. Along with that, I am an international partner to World Business Angel Forum in India, where we help them promote entrepreneurship. World Business Angel Forum is an initiative by the G20 and G7 countries to promote entrepreneurship over the world. So helping out other startups, other entrepreneurs come up with their dream and then live their life with passion.
Wow, awesome. Well, congratulations and welcome. Excited to hear what's happening in India, particularly around these topics as well. And last but not least, Noble, welcome back to the show. A little intro, a little background.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you too, Gary, and thanks for having me, Kyle, again. My name is Noble Dracone. I'm the principal partner of Dracone Capital Partners. For the last 26 years, we've been doing nothing but be in the capital raising side between both AR, virtual reality, as well as back in the day, telecommunications. Currently, I'm on the board with M Accelerator, and we tend to be tech agnostic, but we focus on helping pre-seed, seed, and the capital they need
to talk about these subjects. So I want to start out with this, just the big overarching question, as we do here on the show, just to kind of set the stage, allow our audience to see a good insight as to what's happening. And that is, what's the current state of bio, med, and health tech? So really what's going on around the biomedical worlds when it comes to technology today? As we know, there's been a lot that has happened, but where are things currently? And Brad, let's start with you on this, and we'll work our way around to everybody.
Sure. I tend to look things from the ground up, and so I'll really focus on the data side. And with all the innovation and everything that's happening, and now with COVID, it's on fire, which is a bad thing. In the long run, it's a good thing because we're going to have a lot of great innovation that'll come out of it. One of the still key pieces that is missing is data. So access to data and use of the data as it relates to privacy. So we're just in the last few months, we're really starting to see a lot happening with more data being available, people being more companies, small startups, and also the larger Fortune 500s that are really focused on the data side. And that's what we focus on. So it's an easy area for me to talk about because we are always looking to partner with hospitals and medical groups to be able to take that valuable resource that they have, because most of them realize they have something. I mean, they're smart, but they don't necessarily know how to monetize it and be able to then monetize it and use it to be able to advance the cause of trying to cure and provide better healthcare services. So, it's any data is good data in my mind. Even what's called bad data is still good data because you can use it. So we're seeing massive movement on the data side, and all the tool sets are related to that, being able to take that and actually make it's like taking raw oil and turning it into gasoline, and you can't run a car without diesel or gas. So we think that'll continue to really expand. And then I think there's a lot of complexities that come with it as relates to privacy. US and EU have been very good, but other countries are still slow to come around. But HIPAA has been a good guiding factor for us, and we've just based everything around HIPAA.
And Gary, to you, what are you seeing as the current state of things? Thank you, Brad.
I mean, this is,
Gary.
as we talk, can you hear me? Yeah, so if we talked about before, I mean, this is a dawn of the fourth industrial revolution. And I mean, it's changing dramatically. So look at the, computer vision and med tech, how it's being used today. Look at how artificial intelligence is being used in all kinds of different ways for prediction for skin cancer, right? There was a study done at Stanford University that actually compared using computer vision and AI, and they were better than the combined of 23 top experts being able to diagnose melanoma. So, and here we are, like it, good, bad, or indifferent in this whole COVID experience where we've had to go virtual. So now telemedicine, I mean, we talked about it before, we've done it before, but I don't know about you, Kyle, but I mean, I've actually had one of my physicians ask me to do a teleconference with her, on Zoom. It's like, I mean, this stuff didn't happen a year ago. So I'm really bullish about it. And I'm also bullish about things like, digital twins, technologies that do simulations for medicine. We're there, and it's interesting. Think about things like nanobots. 5 years ago, I took my MBA students, I did for a summer, took off and decided to work with MBA students. And the project we worked on in Palo Alto was living to 120. And so it was eye-opening, the technologies that during your lifetime are going to help us live longer, right? And so, from being able to reproduce organs to understanding the aging process and how to slow it down by doing research with like crabs. And it's just, it's a dawn of a new era. It's like, across the board, we've hit this fourth industrial revolution that's changing everything, and med tech and technology. So I'm particularly interested in aging in place, using technologies that we have a startup called Zemply, which came out of some folks from Stanford. That's really interesting because here we've got this global aging population, and how do we make the quality of life better? How do we help them live better in their homes? And what kind of technologies will do that today? So no, I'm across the board bullish because everyone on this panel wants to live longer, right? And
yeah,
better.
well, longer and better. That's not necessarily longer, but better as well. That's the kicker there. I know we did see a news report. I think it was a squid, if I'm correct, that was recently worked on in the medical field, and they were able to replicate and clone it, if I'm correct. Again, I might be misquoting all of this, but they were able to do this, which was a huge breakthrough because through what they were doing and some of the genetics engineering they had done, they are now able to see a different level of research in depth around Alzheimer's and just general brain function as well. So fascinating.
Can I say one more thing, Kyle?
Yes, you can. Yes,
yeah, listen, I talked to a group out of Panama, actually, that's doing stem cell work. Actually, by chance, I was listening to Joe Rogan with Mel Gibson, and he was talking about his father going down to this center. So I actually contacted them because I was very interested, right? And the kind of things that they're talking about, the kind of things that Mayo Clinic's talking about, being able to repair hearts that have had, heart attacks, being able to cancer, being able to pinpoint cancer. And it's just, I don't know that much about it from my own perspective, but when I heard about it and when I talked to them in Panama, it was just incredible. So if it's I had a friend of mine that had a challenge with his hip. He played a lot of tennis, and he's about 50. And he actually had stem cells. They told him he needed a hip replacement, and they actually did stem cells on his hip. And within 8 weeks, he was back on the tennis court. I mean, I personally saw it. So there's a lot of promises out there.
I mean, there's tons. Longevity is a whole thing. I know that some of our panelists are already shaking their heads. They're ready to talk about it. So Noble, I'm going to come to you and we'll keep going around. Current state, what are you seeing as things right now?
Yeah, so I went in a different direction. I did a investment in a laboratory that does genetic testing. I'm a big believer that, to Gary's point, that it's really coming down to tailored medicine. And so what they do is they do genetic tests on people, finding out what cannabinoids actually work for their system. So it's endocannabinoid tests that determines, based on over 200 plus markers, whether or not you should even be ingesting CBD, if THC has an effect on you, and then where it actually works with your system to improve your health and longevity. It's a company called Ria Labs out in San Diego. We invested in them about early 2019. And with this pandemic hitting, it's been so exciting to see the number of people who, number one, who have turned to cannabis, let's be honest, but more importantly, who have wanted to take the test to really understand what CBD, both psychoactive and non-psychoactive, works for their system. So I think that in general, I think there's going to be a lot more discovery about individuals and truly discovering whether or not the diabetic diet that doctors have touted for years really works for everybody, because some fruits impact them differently, or vegetables impact them differently, and they can actually eat carbs. So it's one of those things where the tailorized medicine is what I believe is what's going to drive the end up longevity that we started on down the path I'm talking about. So I think in general, medtech is here. It's been here for a while with CRISPR's being introduced years ago. We understand that now humanity is on the verge of truly singularity. We've talked about it before, but between what's going on technologically wise, what's happening biologically and physiologically, and then the need for us to interact like we're doing now, we're forcing a whole entire new evolution along multiple levels. We are right now looking at investment in a company because, I'm in augmented reality that is taking all of the human organs and giving people a way to do medical procedures on them in augmented reality, in virtual reality, before they have to do it in real life. And that gives them an opportunity to become better surgeons, which means that globally, the best surgeons and the best doctors can teach people anywhere how to do these procedures, no matter where they're at. So, this whole thing is a huge explosion and has an opportunity to change humanity in a big way.
Well, and personalized medicine, I think, is kind of what you're calling towards. And I think that's a common theme we've heard around this subject. And William, I want to come to you next. What are you seeing as the current state of things right now?
Hi, so I have a very niche vision of telehealth and digital health because of course, my founded companies. What I see is that, for example, I could say it has been an explosion of telehealth services due to coronavirus crisis. And what I was telling you, I think 3 months ago, that this explosion, one of the biggest questions that we have is, will it be maintained or will it be decreased again to the normal way we were doing medicine before coronavirus? Today, with more data, we have, for example, in America, in the United States, 60% of doctors were using telemedical solutions to talk to patients. Today is 20%. So it's much, much bigger than it used to be before coronavirus crisis, but we are seeing a decrease on the adoption of telehealth solutions. In the global, when you see in all the numbers, when you go inside and you see the new patients or new doctors, almost all of them, they want telemedicine. More than 50, 60 or 70% of them are using telemedicine. So what I would say is that telemedicine is telehealth solutions, digital healthcare is here to stay. It will not be the biggest revolution in the market in the next 12 months, but it will be growing, I think, steadily growing in the next years for sure. Today, I could say that 20% of doctors in the United States are using telemedical solutions to talk to patients. And it's a huge increase if you see it only 1 year ago. Other things that I see that are quite important is that, for example, in terms of psychologists in digital healthcare, there has not been a decrease in digital solutions and adoption. So if you see doctors, they are using less telemedicine that they were using 6 or 4 months ago. In psychology or mental health care, you cannot see this. They are still using the same number of digital medical consultations than when were in the coronavirus and crisis and quarantine. So I would say that I'm very bullish in all the digital mental health solutions. I see that there is you can provide a lot of solutions in digital mental health that it's normally not possible in medicine. So I am very bullish on that, and also very bullish in communities in digital healthcare, because I see that, and also a lot of more interaction between communities in digital healthcare. And I see also a very important trend in this sense, in specific verticals: pregnancy, fertility, in pediatrics, mental health. Not only individuals talking to the doctor, but also digital communities.
Which goes back all the way to Brad's point around data and how important that data is, right? Whether it's a community as a whole, or it's a community of individuals, or it's telepresence,
yes,
or
I would
telemedicine.
say that one of the things that I would like to remark here is that I always believe that first comes companionship, comes the relationship between users, attraction of users doing or using your platform, interacting with each other. Then data is then when you add value to your company. But what I see is that there is a lot of healthcare companies that they are trying to go directly to exploiting the data and having artificial intelligence and automatic diagnosis, something like that. And what I see is that there is a long road for telehealth, digital telehealth engagement, or sorry for my English, but
no, you're fine. I mean, telehealth. I mean, this is where it's at. I think you're spot on. Before we get to comments, I want to get to Boba, your view on the current state of things as well. And Angun, we're gonna finish with you. Boba, to you.
Yeah. Again, thanks for the opportunity. Let's look at the industry. It's a $6 trillion industry, growing double digits in the developing world, high single digits in the developed world. Okay, so let's look at from a patient perspective. The problems are the same: accessibility, affordability, and the quality of care. The patients around the world, whether you're in US, rural areas or urban areas, or you're in India or China, the same problem. They can't get to the doctor when they need one, and when they get one, they can't afford. And if they find somebody, they can't get a good quality care. From the doctors in US, they're all complaining. They're overworked, tired, and spending too much time filling the EMRs, okay? And then the payers are increasing the insurance premiums, employers are increasing the deductibles. So the patients not only can get the care, but they're also paying more and more. It's a huge problem. So whenever you see a huge problem, entrepreneurs see a huge opportunity. So the capital goes where the brains are, right? And the opportunities are. So that's what we're seeing here. The healthcare industry, by design and nature, very conservative. They don't change things because they are very careful. On the other hand, I'm going to give 2 examples. So this is all you know, that Cleveland Clinic monthly visits gone from 3,000 to 60,000. And Stanford daily visits gone from 50 to 1,600. I'm talking about telehealth visits. 80% of the patients for the chronic care at Kaiser go through the telehealth visits, not the in-person visits, okay? So what is creating that is you see a lot of technology, and everyone talked about AI. So the real solution, what is happening here is look at the industry. Whoever thought you would have a digital health company today with close to $1 billion revenues? That is Teladoc and Livongo. Look at the Stanford startup, iRhythm, $256 million revenue, okay? We have invested in one of the Stanford startups. iRhythm is a Stanford biodesign startup. And we invested recently money. The company, what they're trying to do is improve the mortality of these high-risk stroke patients by having a EEG, small device insert into the back of the head and uses the AI, okay, that tells, hey, this patient is going to have a stroke shortly. So let's get him to the hospital. So because of that, they can reduce the mortality and the morbidity. The other company we're invested in is the critical care, ICUs. You go into ICUs anywhere, there are different machines not talking to each other. You get a lot of data, somebody records it, and the intensivists are very few, they're very busy, and they can't get all the data. If you have an IoT device that can collate all of that and add to the Gary's AI or any of those AI stuff, and it tells the doctor, hey, this patient, Baba, okay, based on all this data and this, these are the likely diagnoses that makes his life very easy. I think those are not fiction. They're real stories. You're going to see them in a few years. We invested in one of the Duke startups in the ICU, and the sepsis is a big problem, right? Kills a lot of people. If we can diagnose those patients few hours earlier, that makes a big difference in the death and the survival, okay? So on the other hand, you have the primary care and the chronic diseases. You don't need to go check your heart rate or rhythms or blood sugar in the hospital, okay? If you can make these devices at home, like Masimo and the other companies, small devices and the gold standard qualities. If you get an EKG, blood pressure, pulse oximetry, body temperature, you can deal with a lot of those issues. That we see a whole lot of opportunities for the entrepreneurs. What's happening is there are too many startups and they need a lot of hand-holding, okay? Adult supervision, hand-holding, the ecosystem. We all need to work. Investors, the capital markets need to recognize this opportunity, build an opportunity to train, support great ideas that the young entrepreneurs are bringing and build this industry in the next 10 years. This would be a very different landscape, how we access healthcare and how we, the providers provide access, the healthcare to the patients. So there are going to be a lot of dead bodies, but I'm very optimistic about the industry, what I see.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of companies, we're going to see a lot of companies come and go. I mean, I think there's definitely some challenges in the industry, and there's also those that are definitely going to survive, as Bola said, with the supports. But Angun, I want to come to you next. I want to make sure you get your view of where current state is. I mean, you're based in India. You're doing so much with this global initiative around the Angel Group that you're a part of. What are you seeing as the current state of these three industries? And then Brad, I've got a follow-up for you, so stay tuned. Oh, you're on mute, my friend. Not Brad, Angun.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. So yeah, to add on to that point, I mean, I want to add on to Brad and Noble's point. With coronavirus, the next wave in the industry is going to be in healthcare personalization. We have seen this in the past without even realizing it. I remember growing up in Southeast Asia around early 2000, there was one very common phrase that everyone was using, which is X person is my family doctor, which being that in case of any medical situation, he's our go-to person. That changed swiftly over the last 10 years. We went ahead from one general practice to a more specialized practice. However, it's now time that people are realizing that, okay, even in a specialized practice, there are further niche that are coming up. To give you an example, one of the areas where my company Atotum is working is with critical care patients in oncology. He went on to an oncologist who advised him a procedure which needed two surgeries. They recommended a hemocolectomy. Now it's a very complicated procedure. It requires two separate surgeries, and there's a lot of discomfort. Comparatively, our first idea was, all right, let us connect you to someone who has been studying colon cancer for over 2 or 3 decades. Because as soon as the patient went to that doctor, his advice was, all right, although the procedure that's recommended to you would have been valid a decade ago, however, over the last 10 years, we oncologist being as qualified as he was not aware of. The result, he only had to get through one surgery, which was non-invasive, and his recovery time was cut down in half. The same is going to be the same is going to be the case all around the world. Right now, as Brad mentioned, that data is everything. When a patient gets a medical record, he just has a bunch of letters and numbers he doesn't understand. But creating something which we are personalizing for the user itself, where they can make an educated decision based off of that data, is where the industry is going to head. It's what's going to bring out the next wave in healthcare.
Speaking of, and thank you, this is exactly what my next question is that next wave, where are we going next, right? Where are the opportunities as well? And Brad is hitting so hard on the data side, and I want to push you on it because I think it's so incredibly important that, just talking about the the technology advancements is only a small bucket to the bigger picture, and leveraging that data that is a part of this world, right? When you can bring data in, learn, predict, and actually personalize that data, it's a totally different game for all of us as individuals. So Brad, before I get to the bigger area of opportunity, just talk to us about where the potential of this data can lead us. I mean, as investors, we're looking at different companies in the space. Why is data so important, and why should we be focusing on either investing in it or the companies that are really, really hard focused on it?
Well, I think everybody on this call is really singing off the same sheet of music. We're all saying the same thing. We all see it, and frankly, everybody around the world's feeling it because telemedicine, we're forced into telemedicine. So not only from a tech standpoint, but from a regulatory standpoint, the FDA's loosened a lot of their regulations, and a lot of the other healthcare agencies are already following suit. Where 3 months, 6 months ago, telemedicine was struggling in some sense because of regulations, and now all that's opening. So the dam's broken, and so now data is hand in hand with the tech. I mean, data is tech, in my viewpoint. So the two have to work together, and one won't operate without the other. Especially even on non-ML AI side, you still need data to be able to have more customization and a better experience. Even from a behavioral standpoint, I've cut most of my teeth in business and digital media, digital advertising, and everything we know today around personalizations all around. The more data, the better, and more personalized you can get, which becomes, it's all about relevancy. It's the same thing in medicine. So anything that I'm sure everyone's experienced walking to a doctor and they pull the chart out, and it's like you start over from scratch when you go to a new doctor. That shouldn't be the case. They should be able to know everything about you, and it should be all personalized. But going back on a real hardcore tech side, one of the things, with artificial intelligence and using machine learning essentially is the AI assisted side. So I don't think the doctor's going away. A lot of the physicians on this call, I don't want to say that the physicians irrelevant is going away, because I don't see that happening, at least in my lifetime, and probably not my kids. I think that what we are seeing though is AI assisted. You have the ability, you have less and less doctors out there. You have countries in Africa and other parts of the world that have, in Boston, we have more doctors in one building than probably 3 or 4 countries combined together. So it's incredible, but it's also leaves a lot of people in the world that are underserved that can't get access to medicine. But with AI assisted medicine, all of a sudden one doctor becomes a force multiplier because they can use and be able to use machine learning and AI assistance to be able to come up with diagnosis, or at least double check them, where it can speed things up and allow them to see more patients, have better quality access. And the other component, which is I think one of the most exciting, is monitoring, where your vitals with using remote sensing tools like a Bluetooth blood pressure cuff, for instance, something really simple like that, or an Apple Watch, or a lot of lower cost devices that are coming out of different countries around the world to be able to pull all the telemetry from that data. It goes into a single monitoring system instead of having a human monitor it, because most of the time you don't need a human to monitor it. If your blood pressure spikes, you don't need a nurse to look at that. It can trigger a flag that goes to the office that then says, wait, this is something that's happened to the patient. We've been doing that for years in hospitals. But now it's time to do it at home, which is already starting to happen. So when you take all the different aspects of the data from the high-tech sensors that you have to physically go to the low-tech sensors that are at your home, to then all the chart data and all the and DNA and all the other components, you can start combining that together. You start going to the 120 years that Gary's talking about, which I used to say, I think, I know I'm never going to predict my death because I don't want to do that. But I was always saying, I hope I live to 100. I've actually moved that up to a few months ago, 120. And then a good friend of mine now is starting to say maybe 200. And maybe that's through singularity, through taking your conscious mind and putting it into the ether. But that's another topic, I'm sure, for one of your calls. However, that being said, the amount of tools that are out there and the growth rate is astonishing. And so with the amount of money that's flowing in and being able to take all this and combining it together, that's our biggest challenge, is how do you have the left hand talk to the right hand? And that's a tough one.
It's that glue, right? It's that fabric. And 200, I mean, we're getting into upload and the future of our digital selves, as we've teased a little bit. There you go. I know where you were going with that. It's that glue, right? It's that fabric that we're not just missing, but it is so complex because you have so many different pieces, and us as individuals are a part of that, right? We're all very different components, and how that will all click together is just, it's a very big question. I think you're calling it out right.
Yeah, just one quick comment is that one of the really big challenges that we face is that you have different data sets. So you have the patient data set with their chart, with a lot of the information that's provided to the physician. Then you have sensor data, and then you have MRIs and CAT scans and CTs and so on that will, X-rays that will, but bringing those together, because those EMR systems don't necessarily, the more advanced ones connect it. The ones that aren't quite as developed aren't connecting it yet. Once that's all connected, which is one of the things we're working on, then you all of a sudden you open and get to another level of knowledge.
Absolutely, Gary. I see you shaking your head left and right. I mean, let's come around in the room, get our areas of opportunity as we come to the top of the hour here soon. But Gary, to you, where are you seeing the areas of opportunity further on?
So nanotechnologies to be able to target specific cells, because as we've talked, many times, if you have cancer, the big problem is destroying good cells, right? So using nanotechnology to be able to really target, I think that's incredibly interesting. I think robotics and exoskeletons to be able to help the paralyzed to be able to walk and to exercise those muscles so the brain can relearn is really interesting. We talked about wearables. I'm into that. I mean, we're in a point where wearables, imagine all the data that Apple's collecting today, and they give you the option to opt in for medical research to be able to target your data. So we're getting incredible amounts of data out there. So I like that. And as I said before, diagnostic AI tied into computer vision. And that is really, imagine to be able to diagnose melanoma as they did at Stanford University, to be able to do it better than a doc, right? and to be able to get that diagnosis more and more accurate. So across the board, and the other things about, being able to do surgery and to be able to do it, from a robotic standpoint, to be able to do that operation a lot better, and maybe even do it from a telemedicine standpoint. So you got the best physician being able to do those kind of surgeries. I just saw yesterday in Japan, they're actually stocking shelves with a robot, right, from a distance, doing that work. So we're getting closer and closer to it, and I love it. So, I love AI, but there's a lot of really cool stuff that's happening that's going to make us live longer, help us to live longer.
Absolutely. Noble. Opportunities. Where are you seeing them right now?
I like the haptic clothing in a big way, in which is collecting data, because one of the things, we're still hooking people up to multiple monitors, even in the hospital, whereas a lot of that stuff could be replaced by putting on a t-shirt that will do both all of the measurements for blood pressure, vitals, etc., and then relay that information back. So I think in general, anything that deals with wearables, I love. I enjoy augmented reality only because I think that telemedicine, people need to interact, and we need to be able to operate and interact together in collaborative fashion. So there's a lot of companies like Spatial.io that we like that are just creating that, where you're in the room seemingly with people and operating. I think there's also a whole swath or whole segment that needs to be addressed too, is that there really is not enough doctors, and we're not making them fast enough. My oldest son is headed to medical school. But in the flip side, my mom is a nurse practitioner, and she's been a nurse practitioner for a while. And the reality is, for a lot of chronic health care, particularly in rural areas, a lot of this technology will support this whole entire mid-level wave of operators who help people with chronic care, and then function with AI to help them be able to assess what they need proceeding forward. So anything in the space where there's a development of concierge medicine focused primarily on the secondary healthcare market, where you deal with the NPs as opposed to just physician operated offices, I like. And I like, and it's not, we don't have to go far. The reality is, rural America has lost physicians. Places like Alabama, places like Georgia, all throughout, there's just no doctors, to be honest. You have to drive miles and miles to reach them. So a combination of both AI, nurse practitioners, and the ability to sift through the data to help people with chronic care is a huge opportunity. And so we're looking at that space now too.
William, same to you.
Okay, opportunities. As I said before, I think that I see a lot of traction, all of what you said. So not only in digital healthcare, in telemedicine solutions, but also what I see a lot of traction is in elderly care. And specifically, what I would say is that, for example, one of the things that I see a lot, and there is no good solution, is that there are a lot of digital solutions out there, a lot of big health insurance companies, and the interaction between them in terms of gateways, APIs, communication between them. There have been in banks, there have been a lot of opportunities and startups that has been very successful in giving new startups the possibility to connect to banks, to banks, to insurance, to sell insurance, to do the virtual banking. But in terms of medicine, in terms of reimbursement and medicine, there is no standard gateway in this man in the middle that offer a lot of solutions, integrates everybody and offers solutions. And there are some old ones, but I think that there is a good opportunity there. And also in terms of what I would say, I love the idea of a holistic approach of an hospital or a clinic, where digital and offline visits are almost the same. Hospitals that are created with the digital landscape in mind, and clinics that are created with this. I've seen from HiOscar and other companies that are trying in the United States that are trying to do this thing. I love this idea of from the very beginning, your patient is online, always, and also offline, but you combine perfectly the online and offline. Not only online hospital, not only offline hospital, but both together from the very beginning, created anew. This is something that I've seen some success in the United States, and I love the idea as a doctor also of this kind of new clinics that combine from the very beginning the idea of the holistic approach of every patient is an online patient. And I will follow you with nurses online and also offline and face-to-face. Because there is a lot of interaction and integration that is needed. And a lot of platforms, telehealth platforms, are outside of the typical workflow of an hospital. And the hospitals are being built, has been being built with no idea of the online integration. So I see a lot of also opportunity in creating new hospitals with this idea in mind.
Could be a new business line, could be an extension of the current hospital, right? It could be an entire new wave of business and revenue for those that are currently physical moving into the digital, right? The idea of digitization in practice as well. And Boba, to you, same thing. Quick areas of opportunity that you're seeing as we're coming up to the lightning round and have to wrap here in just a moment. But what are you seeing as opportunities?
Thank you. And we talked about healthcare, $6 trillion. And this year's expected revenues from digital health are $2.6 billion, tiny percentage. We define the problem. You look at how the mankind dealt with the problem of communications, okay? You got the AT&T monopoly to Nokia and prior to the Apple phones. Now what happened? It's become very cheap to talk to anybody, anywhere in the world, WhatsApp and all that stuff, okay? BlackBerry is gone, okay, etc. Now, the taxi problem, we all know we had the transportation problem. Everybody felt cabs can't be solved. That's the way it's going to be, comes over. Now, we are at a junction of solving the biggest problem the mankind has, that is providing the healthcare. AI, data combination, okay, and what is happening now, our understanding of the biology at the cellular level, putting that into data, using machine learning tools, that's going to make providers' life easier, reduces the cost, just like what happened with the Uber, like what happened with the telecommunications. We are at this point, junction of solving these big problems in healthcare. And as I said, the pandemic is God-sent gift for the digital health. Okay, with that, I'm going to sign off. I'll be happy to chat with all of them. You're really pretty sophisticated, brainy speakers you had here. I had to go to another meeting. Okay, thank you all. God bless you.
Hey,
bye.
Boba, where can everyone find you online if they want to connect?
Yeah, my email is the best thing. I don't use a lot of social media. It's too much. Okay.
Okay, no worries. All right, thank you very much, Boba. And then on Nuju, if you can, just closing thoughts. Where are the areas of opportunity that you see?
I think I'm going to agree with Noble here because, as you mentioned, that concierge medicine is going to be the future. In a lot of countries, especially in Southeast Asia, countries like India, where 70% of its population has access to less than 30% of the healthcare infrastructure. That gives you around 800 million people with a fraction of healthcare system. Comparing that to a country like US, it's twice the population of United States. So that gives you an idea that there's a vast market that's not being served right now. And we really don't have enough doctors. So the future is going to be where we can bring some sort of a concierge medication where doctors can work with technology. There's no way that AI will be able to replace what a doctor does. However, AI can work with them to bring out changes, to improve healthcare in chronic cases like type 1 diabetes in Middle East, Northern Africa, Southeast Asia. These cases are not diagnosed until it's too late, and that's leading to a lot of infant mortalities. Children less than 10 years of age, where these cases are not being diagnosed. And even when it's diagnosed as well, they don't get the proper healthcare. So a concierge medication is where the future will be, where doctors work with technology, not just technology itself.
Absolutely. And with that, gentlemen, we are at the lightning round. We're at top of the hour. We're actually going to run over about a minute or so. So I do want to come to each of you for your closing thoughts and where can everyone find you. And this has been so insightful as to what's happening. And each of you are an expert in this area. And so for those that are listening, make sure you do reach out to continue the conversation because there is so much here. And as has been mentioned, that fabric, that glue to connect all this together is still one of the biggest areas of opportunity right now for those that are building in the space. So Gwilliam, I want to start with you. Quick closing thoughts, and then where can everyone find you online?
Okay, you can find me online through LinkedIn. You can look for me with my name, Guillem Serra. I'm very active in LinkedIn, so you can contact me there. And my brief thoughts, I would say, in my niche, in my sector, that is telehealth medicine, I will say, for sure, this is something that it is here to stay, and it will increase in the next years, especially in psychology and mental health. So this is my opinion, and that data that supports that.
Wonderful. Gary, to you. Quick closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been striving since the time of Ponce de Leon to live longer, the fountain of youth. I believe we're right on the beginning of that journey, and we're finding incredible technology. So I'm bullish about it. I'm bullish about artificial intelligence, and I'm bullish about where we are in terms of health tech. So you can reach me, Gary Fowler, LinkedIn, or Gary at gsdvs.com. I'd love to hear from you. Reach out if I can help. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you. Noble, same.
Yeah, this is a space that is really the future for investing. Period. If you want to put your eggs in a basket, this is the right one to do it. It's unavoidable that we need a better solution across all the world. So it's always easiest to reach me on LinkedIn, Noble Dracone. If you want to get a hold of me on Twitter, it's my last name @Dracone. And thanks for having me, Kyle.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. And then Anunju, same to you. Quick closing thoughts, anything else to add? And then where can everyone find you online?
So you can find me on Anuj at atutum.com. That's ANUUJ at atutum.com. Or you can check out my Twitter. That's Anuj, ANUUJ.
Wonderful. And I apologize. I butchered your name the entire time, and I really do apologize. I promise next time we have you, I will work on it. And I will get better at it. So thank you so much for being patient and joining us. And Brad, close us out. Quick closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me, Brad, at edgecase.ai, edgecase.ai, or on LinkedIn. And this is an exciting time to be in business. And I just think that all the things we've been talking about and everything that all these companies are working on towards bringing healthcare to everybody, and not just the rich and not just the people that are fortunate enough to live in countries that have good healthcare. It's pretty amazing. So excited to be a part of it. And thanks again for including me.
Absolutely. And couldn't be more on the same page as everybody here. I mean, this is a very, very exciting time, not just to build, but also to invest. So stay tuned for more VCTV all week and later today as we continue to dive into the topics. And as all of our investors mentioned, they all are available online 24/7, 365, whether that's via social media or via email. So do reach out and continue the conversation. And thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, make sure you click subscribe down in the corner. Give us a thumbs up. Do reach out if you'd like to be on a show as an investor to share your thoughts and insights. Thank you, Brad. If you'd like to be an entrepreneur and be on the show to pitch us, thank you, Noble, Gary, to actually pitch us as investors and our live audience, reach out. We'd love to find the right opportunity and have you on the show as well. Big thank you again to all of our panelists for joining us today. Do reach out and continue the conversation. A thank you to Elena and to the entire LA Token team for making VCTV possible every single day. I'm Kyle Lacotte, your host for VCTV. We'll be back here just after a short break to talk about the future of finance, fintech, and banking. We'll be back, and we'll see you soon.